Thank you, Worship. I'll begin by acknowledging my elders past and present, and we stand tonight on our ancestral land. This is Noongar country. Ngalak ninin kurlang kur ngalak noich niji Noongar boja. Noongar mot jer penyining ninya ngalak kwabadak Noongar boja kurlang. From the beginning of time to the end, this is Noongar country. Noongar people have been graceful keepers of our nation for many, many years. Jinin encouraging jerpen nijawer Noongar boja ngalamaya maya border. Look, listen, understand, and embrace all the elements of Noongar country, because this is forever our home. Kai wanjungan ko jerpen nija Noongar boja, dajli wangini Noongar boja. Hello and welcome. My heart is happy as we're gathered here tonight on Noongar country.
Thank you, Your Worship. May we, the elected members of the City of Kwinana, have the wisdom to consider all matters before us with due consideration, integrity and respect for the Council Chamber. May the decisions made be in good faith and always in the best interest of the greater Kwinana community that we serve.
Thank you. We have one apology and leave of absence, and that's from Councillor Sue Kearney. And can I just say at this point, on behalf of the elected members, executive and staff, we pass on our sincere condolences again to the Kearney family for the recent loss of their much beloved daughter-in-law, Kelly, and realise that it's a very sad time for the family at the moment. Thank you. Item 5, public question time. We do have, I think, 5 questions that have been provided in writing, and so I'd like to thank those persons for forwarding the questions. This has certainly enabled a response to be provided on the night for most of the questions, and I would ask Dr. Caitlin Dugan to come forward to the podium, state your name and address, and I understand you've been asked to read about 4 of the questions out. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. So my name is Dr. Caitlin Dugan from Wincanton Chase and Leader, and I'll be reading the first question on behalf of Mr. Damien Manford of Gun Court Leader. This question relates to the recent spate of dog attacks resulting in the death of a number of cats. Does the Council agree that if cats were kept inside or restricted by cat runs if outside, this whole situation would have been avoided? The second question he's presented is the Council willing to revisit the fining of owners or roaming cats? Can I get clarification if we're reading the third question or not?
That's fine.
Yeah. By incorporating the previously suggested laws, positive outcomes of ceasing roaming cats is less loss of native wildlife, as well as a lesser chance of a cat coming into contact with dogs while being walked or having escaped their backyards. Dogs have a responsibility of making every attempt to keep... Dog owners have a responsibility of making every attempt to keep their dogs within their household premises and already potentially face fines by rangers and rangers impounding them. Will the Council consider that any roaming animal should be caught, dog or cat, and impounded? If so, it is a level playing field for all animal owners to be responsible of their pets.
Thank you, and I thank Mr. Manford for those questions in writing. I'll ask our Director of Development and Sustainability, Mrs. Cook, to respond. Thank you.
Through you, Your Worship. In 2022, the City of Kwinana drafted a new cat local law that proposed cat containment requirements, making it unlawful for cats to roam from their home property. The cat containment requirement aimed to protect both local cats and native wildlife found within the city's extensive natural bushland areas by aiming to greatly reduce the opportunity for hunting and the impacts hunting has on native animals. Unfortunately, the State Parliamentary Committee responsible for reviewing local laws requested that this provision was removed from the city's local law, as it was considered outside the scope of what the Cat Act enabled the city to prescribe. Following this, the city made a further attempt to provide some control of domestic cats, including the provision in the amended cat local law to create cat prohibited areas, which have made it illegal for cats to be present in nominated council-controlled reserves. And 10 of the city's reserves were identified and the city undertakes trapping, primarily for feral cats, in those reserves. When a domestic cat is trapped as part of this program, they are impounded and fines can be issued and are issued. Outside of the specific cat prohibited areas, roaming cats that are able to be captured are treated the same as dogs and are impounded, and we do have, as part of our pound facility for the cats to be impounded. Further to cat prohibited areas, the most significant inclusion under the new local law includes limiting the number of cats per household to 2 cats and provides the ability for the city to control nuisances created by cats. The city's Cat Local Law 2022 also endeavours to encourage responsible pet ownership and complements existing microchipping, sterilisation, registration and breeding controls under the Cat Act 2011.
Thank you. All right. So this second question is submitted by Miss Vanessa Mainvini from Silky Lane in Wandie. And apologies if it's slightly repetitive. A law was introduced to keep cats indoors to protect our wildlife. However, rangers ignore the fact that cats are still permitted outside their property and people still have more than 2 cats. Wild and domestic cats and dogs are killing our wildlife. When is the council going to enforce the no roaming and number of pets permitted law, which will stop the killing of our wildlife? Cat traps were to be installed by the City of Kwinana in the Honeywood Estate a couple of years ago, but we are still waiting for it to be done. The number of feral and domestic cats in the estate is increasing every day, and our bandicoot numbers are decreasing. When will the City of Kwinana actually install and set the cat traps? Have I got permission to read the third question?
Thank you.
Thank you. We have even offered to check the traps daily, but the City of Kwinana never act. No, we don't call rangers, as we've encouraged just about every encountered just about every excuse, as per your meeting scenarios, and have tolerated threats by neighbours, a neighbour who was a police officer due to rangers not protecting our privacy. We now live in fear and have been subjected to police harassment from this neighbour. When you complain about a ranger not doing their job, you're told case closed, as you are saying that the ranger hasn't done their job. Why are City Assist permitted to treat residents with such disrespect and refuse to enforce the bylaws unless it suits themselves? Thank you.
Thank you. I thank Ms Minervini for the question and again ask Ms Cook to respond.
Through you, Your Worship, again, some of the response relates to the first question. In 2022, the City of Kwinana drafted a new cat local law that proposed cat containment requirements, making it unlawful for cats to roam from their home property. The cat containment requirement aimed to protect both the local cats and the native wildlife found within the city's extensive natural bushland areas by aiming to greatly reduce the opportunity for hunting and the impacts hunting has on native animals. And as I said previously, unfortunately, the State Parliamentary Committee responsible for reviewing local laws requested that this provision was removed from the city's local law as it was considered outside the scope of the Cat Act, outside the scope of what the Cat Act enabled the city to prescribe. So following this, the city made a further attempt to provide some control of domestic cats, including provisions in the amended local law to create cat prohibited areas and make it illegal for cats to be present in nominated council controlled reserves. The City of Kwinana Cat Local Law 2022 was endorsed on the 23rd of February 2022 by Council and came into effect on the 13th of April 2022. The law brought in new measures to limit the number of cats allowed on premises to 2 cats and provides the ability for the city to control nuisances created by cats with the aim of providing significant environmental benefit to the district by enabling greater regulation and control of cats. But as is often the approach with new laws, there's a phased introduction to a number of the controls being put in place to allow for compliance. There were identified households in the community that had more than 2 cats at the time the new local law came into effect, and the city is currently working with those households to ensure the cats are registered and a permit is in place where appropriate. However, no new household will be permitted to have more than 2 cats. Members of the community who become aware of households with more than 2 cats are encouraged to contact the city to provide information, and this provides the city with the information it needs to then enable it to support cat owners to meet their obligation under the cat local law. The Cordata Wetlands and Lizard Park Reserve in Wandie are both identified as cat prohibited areas in the cat local law, and trapping is undertaken by the city via an experienced external contractor. The cat trapping program occurs across the city excuse me, and last occurred in Lizard Park from the 27th of February to the 4th of March 2023, so very recently, and is scheduled to occur again the week starting 20th of March 2023. It is expected that trapping will be undertaken in the Cordata Wetland Reserve in future rounds of the trapping program. Members of the City Assist team are not permitted to reveal the identity of complainants to alleged offenders, as it is a breach of privacy. Should such an incident occur, it is treated as a breach of the city's code of conduct and would be handled according to the city's disciplinary policies. Any such issues should be reported to the city's CEO.
Thank you.
Thank you. This next set of questions are submitted by Ms Summer Bates of Perham Crescent in Leader, and it relates to the recent attacks on cats resulting in a number of deaths. Are the council moving to compensate families affected financially by the recent dog attacks pending proof of out-of-pocket expenses, and if not, why not?
I'll ask our CEO to respond.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The city has no plans to provide financial compensation to those impacted by a dog attack. Owners have a legal responsibility to keep their dog under control. Where an owner fails to do so, they shall be liable in the event their dog is involved in an attack on a person or another animal. The city has power to issue infringements or commence prosecution. However, any person seeking to recover damages are urged to seek their own legal advice regarding private legal action that they may take against the owner.
Thank you. This next question is mine. So Dr. Caitlin Dugan, Wincanton Chase and Leader. So the recent attacks on cats have highlighted that residents are wrestling with the consequences of pet owners failing to confine their animals to their property. As the owner of 2 beagles, I understand that despite best efforts, dogs and cats will find a way to escape from time to time. However, some owners have shown a complete disregard for others by failing to address the behaviours of their animals and/or not confining them to their properties. This is despite repeated warnings and visits by rangers. What steps are the council taking or plan to take to address this escalating problem, given that current intervention strategies appear to not be achieving the necessary outcomes? The issue above has been discussed at length on social media. The attitudes and perspectives of residents in online discussion of their experiences with City Assist are overwhelmingly negative in sentiment. An emerging theme is that those taking calls at City Assist are not passing information to the rangers in a timely manner, are triaging calls inappropriately, or are not recording details accurately. This is particularly true of the after-hours service, where residents needing assistance are told simply to call back the next day. With respect to the above, what can the council do to audit, assess, and if necessary, amend the ways of working at City Assist to ensure that information is adequately recorded, triaged, and actioned in a reasonable timeframe? Thank you.
Thank you. I'll ask our CEO to respond.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll take these in 2 parts. So the first part, animal management is a joint partnership between animal owners, the city and the wider community. Every animal owner has an obligation to their pet, the community, to ensure that they're being a responsible pet owner. Unfortunately, not all owners behave in a responsible manner, and this is where the city has a role to play. City Assist provides the community with a range of services, including regulatory services and animal management. Animal management at the City of Kwinana is a multifaceted approach, including education, informal mediation, advice, support, and enforcement. The mix of these elements varies from situation to situation and depends upon circumstances, and is an example of how the animal management program is constantly being evaluated and adjusted to try and meet the needs of the community. For example, the city has recently redirected City Assist resources to the Western Leader area in the form of increased patrols, an attempt to identify the wandering dogs involved in a number of alleged attacks. These patrols have been occurring multiple times per day, however, without consistent reporting directly to the city, inconsistent information and a number of wandering dogs being reported both formally and informally, it's made it difficult to secure the dogs responsible for the attacks. Additionally, informal reports made online, excuse me, and informal reports made online and via the media prior to a formal report being made to the city appear to have provided the suspected owner of the two dogs with prior notice. As such, prior to the city being able to investigate the incident fully, the alleged unregistered dogs appear to have been relocated, hindering the efforts of the city to provide a resolution in regards to this incident. The average number of animals impounded per month by the City Assist during 2022 to 23 is higher than that recorded for 21 to 22. The average number of reported dog attacks per month is declining, as is the total number of animal control customer requests being received by the city. The city can only investigate matters that are formally reported, and to be successful with enforcement action, including infringements and prosecutions, the city requires suitable evidence from witnesses as per any criminal prosecution. Community members are encouraged to formally report issues relating to animal management to the city on the council's phone number. In regards to your second part, City Assist currently operates between the hours of 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. 7 days per week. At any one time during these hours, there are up to 3 City Assist officers on duty providing a full range of City Assist services across the city. Calls outside of 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday to Friday and public holidays are handled by the city's contracted after-hours call centre. Requests received by the after-hours call centre are categorised using a matrix provided by the city that gives call centre staff information to assist the customer in details of what business area in the city the request should be allocated to. Excuse me. In the event that the after-hours call centre receives a call regarding a dog attack that's in the progress, the request is called through to the on-call City Assist officer, who will attend. The city is extremely disheartened to hear that its residents have had such a negative experience with its after-hours provider, and will use the feedback provided to help inform improvements with the service. The response matrix that the after-hours contractor uses is amended as needed to provide the best level of service possible to the community. In line with the recent feedback, the city is reviewing the response matrix in an attempt to highlight the deficiencies in the categories and the scripting which have led to residents not receiving the desired level of service. All in-house requests received directly by the city's customer service team are logged via a customer request system to provide transparency and a record of action by the city. These requests are then triaged to the most appropriate area, and in the case of City Assist, are reviewed by senior City Assist staff to ensure priority and high-risk jobs are allocated in a timely manner. The City of Kwinana is continually looking to improve the customer experience for residents and ratepayers and create a more customer-focused organisation. As a result, the city has a customer service charter and customer service standards to which all staff are held accountable to, and encourage a positive customer service culture.
Thank you very much.
Thank you once again for taking the time to come along and provide your questions in writing. I have a question from a Miss Kay Walker from Collishore Rise in Parmelia. I've lived at this address for 20 plus years, and in this time have put up with trail bikes cutting across the park and up Collishore Rise. A fence with a granny rail will stop this problem while still allowing pedestrians to access the park. It is the narrowest exit bordering the park and would not require much from the council shire. This area has bollards which only stops the police cars chasing them into the park from Collishore Rise. This needs to be seriously considered and has always been complained about, as bollards are ineffective. Will the council install a fence to prevent trail bikers cutting across the park and entering Collishore Rise? And I thank Ms Walker for her question, and I'll ask Mr Elkins, our Director of City Infrastructure, to provide a response.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. Unfortunately, trail bikes and reserves is a problem across the city and is common across local government. The City of Kwinana works closely with the police on public safety and crime generally, and regularly meet with the police to discuss specific issues, including trail bikes on the reserve adjacent to Collishore Rise or Cole Park. The advice from the police is to report all incidences of illegal trail bikes and to encourage residents to register any private CCTV cameras that provide coverage of the street. Based on the advice from the police, the city's community safety officer has door-knocked houses around the reserve and discussed the police advice with 22 residents. During the door knocking, one resident advised that he had ridden his trail bike through the reserve, and based on reports from residents, he was cautioned by the police and he was not going to do it again. With regard to the specific question of the fencing, this is something that cannot be achieved. So the city has investigated this based on previous correspondence and phone calls from residents. And the difficulty is to prevent trail bikes. It will negatively impact on other residents and the amenities of the park. In particular, providing the space needed to allow access for prams and wheelchairs would result in a gap that will still allow trail bikes to enter the park.
Thank you, and again, thank you very much for the question, Ms Walker. Back to the agenda. We have nothing in items 6.1, 6.2, 6.3. Item 7, 7.1 is a confirmation of minutes held from our ordinary meeting of council on the 22nd of September 23. Are there any questions of the officers on those minutes? If not, we have a recommendation. Move Councillor Estwood, seconded to Councillor Rouse. Either councillors wish to speak on the item? Anyone wish to speak against? Put it to the vote. All in favour? Against? Carried. Are there any declarations of interest tonight? Thank you. Are there any requests for leave of absence? Thank you. There is nothing on items 10 to 17. Agenda proper 18.1 is the quarterly performance report for the Strategic Community Plan and Corporate Business Plan, Quarter 2, October to December 2022. Are there any questions of the officers on any items contained within both of those plans? Neil? Thank you. Do we have a recommendation? Somebody happy to move the recommendation? Move Deputy Mayor, seconded to Councillor Winmar. Deputy Mayor, do you wish to speak on the item? Councillor Winmar. Anybody wish to speak against? I shall put it to the vote. All in favour? Against? Carried. 18.2 is proposed Animal Environment and Amenity Local Law 2023. Are there any questions of the officers in relation to this item? Yes, thank you. Go. Thank you. I have a question that Mrs Cook might be able to answer. Just in the process, we're talking about community consultation. So what is the process from here, subject to the council endorsing this recommendation?
Thank you, Your Worship. Essentially, as per the Local Government Act, with any proposed local law, the city is required to seek public submissions for no less than 50 days before it can be considered by council for adoption. And this will be a public notice process, but we'll also be including that on our Love My Kwinana page to ensure that there enables submissions to be made by the community and those submissions to be compiled. So that will be a key part of the process, as well as identifying any other key stakeholders that need to, be informed directly of any changes to the local law, and that may be some registered owners of any of the particular animals, farm animals, etc., that we have within our system at the moment, to advise of the changes and provide them with that opportunity to make submission.
Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Brown?
Thank you, Your Worship. I understand there's some comments in the community around the clause being a fence to feed or permit the feeding of any uncaged bird. Could the city talk to its intention behind that clause and provide some examples of when it would be enforced?
Are you able to provide me the reference that you're, if there's a specific reference in the local law that you're referring to?
Page 16 of 22 in the outline. It mentions, in relation to bird feeding, it will be an offence to feed or permit the feeding of any uncaged bird unless otherwise approved by the local government. I understand some residents have, I guess, seen the officer report here, and there's been some commentary around perhaps it is a step too far. So I thought if the city could talk to just its intention behind that particular point and just provide an example of when it would be enforced.
I'm probably going to have to take the question on notice.
No worries, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions arising? If not, we do have
yes,
a...
sorry,
Sorry, Councillor
Oh,
Estwood.
flicking it here. I know someone who has a parrot that they wander around the street with it on their shoulder. So it's not a caged bird, but it's not a wild bird. So maybe the wording there needs to be changed slightly.
Maybe it's something that they can put
This
into a
this is really related to keeping of poultry, pigeons and other birds, but that would be considered possibly more of a domestic bird. Yeah, so again, I'd have to take that on notice in terms of, the local law, as you can see, is quite comprehensive, very detailed. And so in order for me to be able to provide you both with an appropriate response, I'd have to go back through definitions and information to then be able to give you a response. And that may be part of the consultation process where community and council can provide that feedback, and any adjustments made can be made through that consultation process. But we definitely will provide you with the responses to that.
I would suggest I'd be asking the owner, where does a bird eat? Does it eat at home? It's domestic, potentially. Yeah. Anyway, any other questions? Thank you. Councillor Winmar.
Thank you, Worship. Just in relation to the transitional arrangements upon endorsement, just some clarity just for our residents around transitional arrangements for compliance. The example would be for the number in relation to the number of chickens they can hold prior to the endorsement of the new Act and once it's come into place, please.
Through you, Your Worship, that question I can probably answer. So the expectation is, as with the response that I provided with respect to our cat local law, any proposed new local law, the approach that the officers take will be one of information and education around what the expectations of the new local law are, and promoting those requirements. Certainly we wouldn't be taking any enforcement action against any owner that may have more than the prescribed number of chickens or pigeons or what have you. It would be based on a case-by-case basis where any nuisance or complaint that is made due to smell, due to noise or other requirements, then it would be investigated by our environmental health officers to determine the level of compliance, and of course provide opportunity for that owner to bring their animal keeping into compliance with the new local law. But certainly we would we wouldn't be infringing, would take the required time frame to do the education and information first and foremost. Yep.
Anything else arising? If not, we have a recommendation. Somebody like to move that way. So moved Councillor Winmar, seconded Councillor Rouse. Councillor Winmar, do you wish to speak on the item? Councillor Rouse.
Yes, just quickly, Your Worship. It's always good to see local governments, and particularly City Kwinana Council and City, streamlining processes and removing red tape associated for pet ownership, poultry ownership, all those ownerships that require excessive red tape in the past. So it'll be interesting to see our submissions following the advertising process. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody wish to speak against? I'll put it to the vote. All in favour? Against? Carried. Okay. Item 18.3 is our monthly financial report for January 2023. Are there any questions from the officers? Of the officers, should I say? Thank you. We have a recommendation. Would somebody like to move that way? Moved Deputy Mayor, seconded to Councillor D. Wood. Deputy Mayor, do you wish to speak on the item? Councillor Wood. Anybody wish to speak against? I shall put it to the vote. All in favour? Against? Carried. There is nothing on item 19, 20, 21. Item 22 is the elected reports, elected members' reports. Deputy Mayor?
Just briefly, Your Worship, I would like to acknowledge International Women's Day and acknowledge all the women that work within the organisation. I would also like to acknowledge for the Indian community, it is the Holi Festival, the Day of Colour today also. I attended the Clean Up Australia Day event organised by the Wellard Village people, along with yourself and a number of other councillors, which there was a good turnout, lots of rubbish collected, Your Worship. I attended the business breakfast, along with a number of other councillors, the information session for the 7-day makeover in the village. And for those people watching from home, council's on the move. At the next council meeting, we'll be in Honeywood. I'm not sure if you were going to mention that, Your Worship, but we'll be at the Nook Born Mia Mia Pavilion, which is the Honeywood Pavilion there, the new pavilion, which I believe the toilets are now unlocked and available for the community. And we'll be there from, I think, 4 o'clock. There more information on the city's website. And the last one, also for a bit of an advert for the people viewing from home, all those extensive people that are watching instead of the news this evening, Your Worship. The city's Alcoa's Children's Festival is on Saturday. Come dressed as your favourite superhero.
I look forward to seeing what you're going to wear. Thank you. Councillor Winmar.
Thank you, Worship. I'd too like to acknowledge International Women's Day and also just touch on the equity morning tea we had this morning, which is part of the council's community engagement process. It was very interesting and very engaging, and it's pleasing to see that we had the City of Kwinana staff fully support the initiative and was regularly attended, and I think it was a full room, and very, very impressed with our guest speakers, so thank you.
Thank you. Councillor D. Wood.
Yes, Your Worship, I've performed all those duties required of me. I also attended the Royal Australian Navy birthday on last Wednesday. It was at the Lewin Barracks and was attended by lots of people, including the Japanese ambassador and there were 2 or 3 ambassadors, I couldn't remember them all, plus lots of councillors. It was a brilliant evening. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for attending on my behalf. Councillor Rouse.
Thank you, Worship. As Councillor Feasey mentioned, we had the Wellard Village 7-day makeover information session on Tuesday, 28th of February, hosted by David Engwich, giving information about the upcoming project in the village at Wellard, along the Strand there, which is to take place from Saturday the 14th to Friday the 21st of April. This is a really exciting project, and it'll be more like a reality TV makeover show, so there'll be plenty of cameras there as well, I'm sure. So I encourage all, not those just in the village at Wellard, but all others to get involved and come on down, even if it's just for 1 hour. That'll make a huge difference to the project. So that'll kick off on Saturday the 14th with a planning day. Full day of planning. We all get our ideas together about what we'd like to see in the Strand. Obviously, we're restricted what we can do in certain aspects. And on Sunday, we'll break away into our respective project groups. And on Monday, it's all hands go for the next 5 days. And that'll be followed by the following Saturday, where we have a nice celebratory luncheon at the Well, I think. So, yeah, on Monday, the 1st of March, excuse me, I attended the Kwinana Business Breakfast at the Well. Great to see a full house. Again, hosted by David Enwich. So we're getting full value for money out of his services in Kwinana. On Wednesday, the 8th of March, which is today, I had an online meeting with yourself and the JDAP to approve the Wandee Childcare Centre. And also this afternoon, I attended the International Women's Day event that the city held at the Ken Jackman Hall. Pleasing to see a real full house, and really pleasing as well to see a lot of male employees in attendance, because I know that doesn't happen at many organisations around, so it's good that we all came together to celebrate our amazing women in local government at the city. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Your Worship. So since our last ordinary council meeting, I also attended the Wellard Village 7-day makeover information evening alongside Mayor Carol Adams, Deputy Mayor Peter Feasy and Councillor Matthew Rouse. It was fantastic to see so many residents come along to hear about the upcoming transformation project and commit to getting involved. From what we're hearing, the level of participation seems like it's going to be quite big across our youth and town teams, local residents, city staff and businesses. So I'm really excited to take part and see it unfold next month. And I'm sure there'll be plenty of lessons and project ideas that we can then take to other parts of the city as well. I also attended the Kwinana Business Breakfast event at the Wellard Tavern. A sold-out event, and I have to say the enthusiasm and passion for small business and entrepreneurship was off the charts in that room. Taking part in conversations and seeing business owners connecting and brainstorming was another real treat. You couldn't help but walk away from that event with real excitement for what's happening now and what's coming next in this space in the city of Kwinana and the broader region. And I'm proud to be part of a council that is actively supporting small business owners. Last Sunday was another successful Clean Up Australia Day in the city of Kwinana, with neighbours and community groups getting together across our suburbs to spruce up our streets, verges, parks and nature reserves. It was great to be able to join the Wellard Village people in the morning, who organised a large contingent of residents to clean up around the Wellard Square. I think that was an absolutely awesome effort by this crew, who continue to set the bar higher every year, and it was great to see Mayor Carol Adams, Deputy Mayor Peter Feasy and Councillor Matthew Russ there as well. In the afternoon on Clean Up Australia Day, I was off to Leader Boulevard in Homestead Ridge for a clean up along one of our Bush Forever nature reserves. And I'll point out there was a group of kangaroos hopping by that served as just a small reminder of the flora and fauna that can be impacted by stray rubbish blowing into these very sensitive areas. Here, our volunteers picked up a decent amount of rubbish, which included some odd items such as car and truck tyres and even a suitcase. So well done to all of our volunteers, residents and community groups for their incredible work throughout the day on Clean Up Australia Day. I'm looking forward to taking part in more clean-up events throughout the year and, of course, the next big day in 2024. Thank you.
Well done. You did an awesome job doing those along Leader Boulevard, because we actually saw you with all the tyres and everything. So I'm sure with the 2 clean-ups you slept well on Sunday night. Councillor S. Wood.
I've performed all those duties required of me, and the Equity morning tea this morning was really fabulous. It was great to see so many people there. The 2 main speakers were really inspirational, and it was amazing to see the different pathways that they took, but the similar obstacles that they had to overcome.
Thank you very much. Response to previous questions are nil. My mayoral report I'll table, and I won't repeat too much of what everybody else has said, but I did attend our Gilmore College board meeting. It was the first one for 2023, and our student enrolments are up 16%. We've got 1,178 students now at Gilmore College. And just following on about the 7-day Wellard Village makeover, people can be encouraged to just give up any time. It could be an hour, it could be 2, it could be the whole day. So you don't have to be there the whole time, and there's all kinds of jobs that can be allocated to you. I attended and spoke about the city's aspirations at the Fenner Conveyor K3 steel cord conveyor belt manufacturing line opening, and that was at Mounsey Road in Kwinana. It's, as the name says, they produce some of the world's biggest conveyor belts. I kid you not, they have produced a 22-kilometre conveyor belt for mining, and it's just an amazing organisation what they actually do there in our own backyard. They also provide about 100 training opportunities for young people in the art of splicing, and that means when you go out and if something happens to the belts, they can be fixed up right there and then in situ wherever they are. Mainly in the mining industry, but a very good organisation, and just a reminder that we do have some really great organisations making a difference, companies making a difference in our own backyard here. Along with Councillor Rouse and the CEO, we met with Reece Whitby, MLA member for Baldivis, and of course Baldivis takes in a slither of Wellard. We were talking about all things Wellard. We're talking about the Community Safety Forum that's being held on the 4th of April. The city's aspirations for additional CCTV throughout the city, and of course the 7-day makeover initiative. So I'm sure that that safety forum will be well attended. There are a few, as we know, challenging issues going on at the moment, and I look forward to attending that forum. The two lady speakers, women speakers today at the International Women's Day Embracing Equity Morning Tea were Jo Davies, who is a manager for Cricket WA, and Margie Oldfield. She's Cricket Australia's Volunteer of the Year and founder of Team Connect. And I won't go any further for those that weren't in attendance, but they were very aspirational speakers indeed. And I'm very pleased that we're able to have them come down from, they don't live in the area, to join us for this event. And just finishing off a few things. I attended the West Australian Local Government Association State Council Strategic Forum and our State Council meeting. 3 items I would just like to bring the Council's attention to. The very contentious, I feel, is going to be the voice to Parliament. We did have a recommendation, Welga had recommendation that Welga supports the voice to Parliament. There was an additional alternative motion put, and it was carried, and a division called that Welga supports respectful conversations and constitutional recognition of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders and the voice to Parliament, and requests that the Commonwealth Government ensure that local governments and communities are kept informed on the proposal. So what changed was, instead of Welga saying that they would support the voice to Parliament, it's really coming back to each individual council or each individual, because that's who will be answering the referendum, and it's really local government's role to ensure that their communities are educated on what the questions are. There is going to be a referendum, and please participate in it. The second item is in relation to, just as controversial, is minimising noise impacts from outdoor community basketballs. As we know, it's an issue and a growing issue for many local government areas. The Minister for Environment had withdrawn the draft guidelines, but what the State Council have asked, a substantive motion was read and carried, that we would now write to the Minister for the Environment, Local Government, Sport and Planning, requesting the formation of a cross-government working group, including relevant representative bodies, to consider and develop solutions to balance urban density and infill, public recreation and noise management. So we just didn't want it to be left with the Minister withdrawing the guidelines. I think we just need to really, for the certainty for all of us who have children and families playing in basketball courts, half courts, close to where people live, have some certainty. And the last item was in relation to the ongoing best practice review. You might recall that there were 5 options put forward for review of the local government zone structures, or the actual structure itself. Our council did support option 3, but option 1 is being put forward, and with also the current option being left in, and this matter will go to a meeting in May. Welga is going back out to local governments to provide feedback back on the option 1 and on the current situation, come to our meeting in May, but eventually it will go to our local government conference and AGM in October for a decision on whether the structure of the West Australian Local Government Association is changed. Now I'd like to end on a very pleasing note for the International Women's Day. Just happened to be a very good day, especially for our Director of Development and Sustainability, Maria Cook. Congratulations for this evening. She was awarded the Planning Institute of Australia's WA Award for Women in Leadership. So congratulations, Mrs. Cook. It is certainly very well deserved, so I'd like to just give you a round of applause. Now, we do have no items behind closed doors, so therefore I thank you all very much attending, and especially the people from the community who have come forward to express the concerns they have on various issues. It's really good to see you here, and for you to also to see your council responding to your concerns. So therefore I declare the meeting closed at 6:16. Thank you.